My parents sent a group text. "We've disinherited you from the family property. Your sister owns it all. Stay out." My sister piled on, "Challenge it. You will lose." I replied simply, "Noted." Then I canceled the $3,900 property insurance, the alarm subscription, and the upkeep plan, all in my name. 2 days later, Dad phoned. "We must talk. Something seriously went wrong." Yet at that point, I always thought I was the quiet, dependable son, the one who held things together. Until one Wednesday night, a message popped up on my phone that proved just how wrong I was and just how much power that quiet guy could actually wield. That text wasn't just a message. It was a wrecking ball, tearing down years of silent sacrifice, telling me I was completely, utterly erased. My name's Marcus, and I'm 38 years old. For most of my adult life, I was that person everyone forgot about until they needed something fixed. Not just in my own family, but everywhere. I was the reliable one, the silent one, always there when called, paying up when asked, then fading into the background once the celebration started. It was just my role. My parents live in this stunning 3-story Victorian home in Portland. High ceilings, original hardwood floors, a wraparound porch that looks out over the whole neighborhood like a queen surveying her kingdom. And my younger sister, Vanessa, she lives there too, in what used to be the master suite. She moved back after her second failed business venture, the one with artisanal candles that, let's be honest, nobody really wanted. My parents, of course, welcomed her back with open arms, redecorated her room, and proudly announced to anyone who'd listen that she was finding herself. Me? I live 4 hours away in Seattle. I'm a systems analyst for a decent tech company. It's a comfortable job, a quiet life, a small apartment with a view of someone else's rooftop. I'd visit home maybe twice a year, 3 if someone really laid on the guilt trip. And when I walked through that front door, the greeting was always the same, a nod from my dad, a distracted, "Oh, you're here," from my mom, and absolute silence from Vanessa, unless she needed to borrow my laptop charger. But I was useful in other ways, ways that didn't require me to actually be present. Every year, when the homeowner's insurance came up for renewal, that bill landed on my desk. When the security system needed its monthly subscription paid, my credit card handled it. When the HVAC system needed servicing, or the roof needed inspecting, or those gutters had to be cleared, I made sure the maintenance contract stayed active. All of it just ran quietly in the background. My parents never asked about it. I never brought it up. It was just something I did, like mowing the lawn when I was 16. And nobody thanked me then either. Vanessa was different. She was loud, charismatic, always the star of every family gathering. When she walked into a room, heads turned. When I walked into a room, people checked their phones. At holiday dinners, she'd tell stories that made everyone roar with laughter. I'd pass the potatoes, refill water glasses. She got the birthday toasts. I got the request to pick up the cake on my way over. Mom and Dad adored her. She was their miracle baby, born 7 years after me, after they'd given up on having another child. I grew up hearing stories about how special she was, how much joy she brought into their lives, how everything felt complete once she arrived. I was never part of that narrative. I was just the son who came first, the one who paved the way, the one who existed before the real story began. I told myself it didn't bother me. I told myself that being dependable had its own kind of value. I actually convinced myself that one day they would notice, that one day all those quiet sacrifices would finally mean something, that one day I wouldn't feel like a guest in my own family. I was wrong. So wrong. It was a Wednesday evening. I was sitting on my couch, microwave dinner on my lap, halfway through an episode of a crime documentary I'd already seen twice. My phone buzzed. A text from Thompson family, the group chat my mom had created 3 years ago. I rarely checked it. Mostly it was just pictures of Vanessa's brunch outings or reminders about someone's dentist appointment. I opened it. The message was from my father. It was long. It was formal. And it was absolutely crushing. "Marcus," it began, "after careful consideration and discussion with your mother, we have made the decision to remove you from any claim or ownership related to the family property. Vanessa will be the sole inheritor and current owner of the house. This decision is final. We ask that you respect our wishes and do not create conflict. The paperwork has already been filed. Please stay away from family matters regarding the estate. I stared at the screen, then read it again. And again. My dinner grew cold in my lap. The documentary kept playing, but I couldn't hear a single word. A second message popped up, this time from Vanessa. Try to fight it if you want. You'll lose. Everything is already signed. Maybe now you'll understand that showing up twice a year doesn't make you family. I set my phone down on the couch. My hands were shaking, but it wasn't anger. It was something else, something colder, something like crystal clear clarity. The kind that settles in when you realize you've been playing a game where nobody ever bothered to tell you that you'd already lost. I looked around my apartment. The cracked ceiling corner I kept meaning to fix. The stack of mail I hadn't opened. The half-empty bookshelves. Everything felt smaller suddenly, like the walls had just moved closer while I wasn't paying attention. I picked up my phone again, and I typed a single word in response. Noted. Then, I opened my banking app. The insurance policy was the first thing I found. It took 3 minutes of searching through my email to locate the annual renewal receipt. $3,900 a year, paid every April for the last 12 years. Comprehensive coverage, fire, flood, liability, even a rider for the antique furniture my grandmother had left behind. Without it, the house was just an expensive wooden box waiting for the next disaster. I logged into the insurance portal, navigated to the policy details, and clicked Cancel Coverage. A pop-up asked me to confirm. I confirmed. Another screen asked if I wanted to speak to a representative. I declined. The cancellation processed immediately, effective in 72 hours. Next was the security system. I'd signed up for it 6 years ago, after a string of break-ins happened 2 blocks away from my parents' house. It cost $89 a month, with 24-hour monitoring, mobile alerts, automatic police dispatch. My parents had never even bothered to download the app. I went to the account page and selected End Subscription. The website thanked me for being a valued customer and offered a discount if I reconsidered. I closed the browser tab. The maintenance contract. Oh, that was the biggest one. It covered quarterly HVAC inspections, emergency plumbing, electrical troubleshooting, and annual roof check. The company sent a technician to the house every 3 months, like clockwork. It cost $220 a month, and I had been paying it since I got my first real job at 23. I called the customer service line, entered my account number, and pressed the option to cancel. A recorded voice thanked me and confirmed my cancellation request. No questions asked. I sat back in my chair and just stared at the laptop screen. 3 services, 15 years of automatic payments. All gone in under 20 minutes. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel vindicated. I just felt tired. The kind of tired that settles deep into your bones and makes you wonder if anything you've ever done actually mattered. But beneath the exhaustion, something sharper was forming. A decision. A line drawn in the sand. I wasn't going to call them. I wasn't going to explain. I wasn't going to warn them or give them a chance to undo the message they had so coldly sent. If they want to treat me like a stranger, I would act like one. I opened the group chat one more time. Vanessa had sent another message. Guess that's that. Don't bother coming to the house anymore. You're not welcome. I turned my phone face down on the desk and went to bed. For the first time in weeks, I slept through the night without waking up. 2 days passed in a kind of strange quiet. I went to work, sat through meetings, responded to emails. My coworkers asked how my week was going. I told them it was fine. Nobody pushed further. I'd always been good at blending into the background and making people think everything was normal, even when it wasn't. On Friday afternoon, my phone rang while I was reviewing a server log. The caller ID said, Dad. I let it go to voicemail. 10 minutes later, he called again. I silenced it. He called a third time. I turned my phone completely off and shoved it into my desk drawer. At the end of the workday, I retrieved my phone and turned it back on. 7 missed calls. 3 voicemails. A dozen text messages in the family group chat, all from my father. The first voicemail was brief. Marcus, we need to talk. Call me back as soon as you get this. The second was more urgent. Marcus, this is serious. Something happened with the house. Call me now. The third was almost frantic. Marcus, I don't know what's going on, but the insurance company says the policy was canceled. We got a letter today. This isn't funny. Call me back. I deleted all 3 without listening to them a second time. Then I scrolled through the group chat messages. Marcus, answer your phone. Why is the insurance canceled? Did you do this? Call me immediately. This is not the time for games. We could talk about this. Just call. I set my phone on the kitchen counter and made myself dinner. Spaghetti with Jared's sauce, a glass of water. I ate slowly, methodically, while my phone buzzed and lit up with incoming messages. When I finished eating, I washed my plate, dried it, and put it back in the cabinet. Then, I opened the group chat and typed a single sentence. I'm unavailable. Please don't contact me further. I muted the conversation, blocked my father's number, and went back to my evening. A book I'd been meaning to finish, a load of laundry, the small, ordinary tasks that filled the hours and kept me from thinking too much about the fact that I had just erased myself from the only family I had ever known. By the time I went to bed, my phone had stopped buzzing. I woke up on Saturday to rain tapping against the window. The sky was gray, that deep, heavy gray that makes the whole city feel like it's underwater. I made coffee, sat by the window, and for the first time in a long time, I let myself think about the things I'd been avoiding for years. When I was 16, I saved up for a used car. I mowed lawns all summer, worked weekends at a grocery store, and finally had enough for a beat-up Honda Civic that barely ran. I was so proud of it. It was mine. I had earned it. 2 weeks after I bought it, my father sat me down and told me Vanessa needed a car for her upcoming 16th birthday. He said it would mean a lot to her. He said it would be a kind gesture. He said I could take the bus for a while. I gave her the car. She crashed it 3 months later and blamed me for buying something unreliable. When I was 20, I got accepted into a summer internship program in California. It was competitive, well-paid, exactly the kind of opportunity I'd been working toward. My mother called me the week before I was supposed to leave. Vanessa had been accepted into a study abroad program in France, but they couldn't afford the deposit. Mom asked if I could postpone the internship and help cover Vanessa's trip. She said Vanessa's future was important. She said I could always find another internship. I gave them the money. I never went to California. Vanessa spent the summer posting pictures of herself in Paris. When I was 25, I was saving for a down payment on my first apartment. My parent called and said they needed help covering Vanessa's credit card debt. She had overspent during a shopping spree and couldn't make the payments. They said it was an emergency. They said it was family responsibility. They said I was the reliable one. I paid off her debt. She never said thank you. I moved into a cheaper apartment and waited another 3 years before I could afford the place I actually wanted. Every single time, I told myself it was temporary, that I was building goodwill, that these sacrifices would be remembered, that one day the balance would shift and I would be the one receiving instead of giving. But the balance never shifted. It just tilted further and further in the same direction until I was standing alone on one side, holding everything up while they built their lives on the other. I had spent 20 years being the invisible safety net, the quiet checkbook, the backup plan nobody acknowledged until they desperately needed it. And now, after all of that, they had decided I was disposable. I finished my coffee and opened my laptop. There was one more thing I needed to check. The property records for my parents' house. Public information, easy to search. I typed in the address and pulled up the ownership history. The deed transfer had been filed 8 days ago. My name had never been on it. Vanessa's name was now listed as sole owner. My parents had signed it over with a quick claim deed, the kind that transfers ownership without any warranties or promises. Clean, fast, irreversible. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the screen. They hadn't just removed me from the will. They had erased me from the present. I didn't even have a legal claim anymore. I was a ghost. But ghosts, they have their own kind of power. The kind that comes from no longer being seen. The kind that lets you move through the world without anyone noticing, until it's much, much too late. I closed the laptop and went for a walk in the rain. On Monday evening, my doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. I looked through the peephole and saw my father standing in the hallway, soaked from the rain, holding a folder under his arm. He looked older than I remembered. Tired. The kind of tired that makes a person's shoulders slump forward like they're carrying something too heavy. I opened the door, but I didn't step aside. "Marcus," he said, his voice strained. We need to talk. I don't think we do. I reply, my voice. See, steady. The insurance, the security system, the maintenance contract. You canceled everything. That's correct. He blinked, as if he hadn't expected me to admit it so easily. Why would you do that? I looked at him for a long moment. Rain dripped from his coat onto my doormat. You sent me a message, I said. You told me I wasn't part of the family property, that Vanessa owned everything, that I should stay away. I respected your decision. I removed myself. That wasn't about the bills, Marcus. That was about inheritance. And the bills were about inheritance too, I said. You just didn't realize it. His face shifted, confusion turning into something sharper. You're being petty. I'm being consistent, I said. You made it clear I'm not family, so I stopped acting like family. That's how it works. He stepped closer, his voice dropping into that low tone he used when he wanted to sound authoritative. You're going to put the house at risk because your feelings are hurt. My feelings aren't hurt, I said. I just don't pay for things that don't belong to me. Vanessa owns the house now. She can handle the bills. Or you can. But I'm done. We didn't know you were paying for those things. The lie hung in the air between us, obvious and ugly. Yes, you did, I said quietly. You just didn't care enough to ask. He opened his mouth, then closed it. For a moment, he looked like he wanted to argue, but the words didn't come. Finally, he held out the folder. I brought the paperwork. We can undo the deed transfer. We can add you back. I didn't take the folder. I don't want it, I said. Marcus, be reasonable. I'm being reasonable, I said. You made a choice. I made a choice. Now we both live with it. I stepped back and closed the door. He stood in the hallway for another minute, knocking twice, saying my name. I didn't answer. Eventually, I heard his footsteps fade down the hall. I went back to my couch, picked up my book, and continued reading where I had left off. Over the next week, I didn't hear from my father again, but the messages from my mother started. First, they were cautious, polite, asking how I was doing, suggesting we meet for coffee, saying she missed me. When I didn't respond, the tone changed. You're being childish. We raised you better than this. You're hurting your sister. This is cruel. I didn't reply to any of them. Instead, I spent my evenings going through old files, bank statements, email receipts, service contracts. I compiled everything into a single folder on my desktop. 15 years of payments. Every insurance renewal. Every security subscription charge. Every maintenance invoice. I organized them by year, added up the totals, and created a spreadsheet with the final number. $87,400. That was how much I had spent keeping their house protected, functional, and insured. $87,400. Money that had left my account quietly, automatically, without fanfare or acknowledgement. Money that had kept their homes safe while they forgot I existed. I saved the file and backed it up to 3 different locations. I wasn't planning to send it to them. I didn't need to prove anything to them, but I wanted to see it for myself. To know that I wasn't imagining things, that my contributions had been real, measurable, significant. I also contacted a lawyer. Not to file anything, not to make threats, just to confirm my legal standing. The consultation took 20 minutes. The lawyer explained that quitclaim deeds are binding, that I had no claim to the property, and that without a written agreement, I couldn't force reimbursement for payments I had made voluntarily. So, I have no recourse? I asked. Legally, no, the lawyer said, but morally, you're owed an apology at minimum. I thanked him, paid the consultation fee, and left. I didn't need legal recourse. What I had already done was enough. 2 weeks after I canceled the services, my mother called from an unknown number. I answered before I realized it was her. Marcus, please listen to me, she said. Her voice was strained, almost breaking. The roof is leaking. There was a storm last night, and water got into the attic. It's damaged the insulation, and it's dripping into Vanessa's room. We called the maintenance company, but they said we don't have a contract anymore. They want $1,200 just to come out and assess it. I didn't say anything. Marcus, are you there? I'm here. We need your help. Please. We can't afford this right now. Call Vanessa, I said. She owns the house. She can figure it out. She doesn't have that kind of money. Then call a different company or fix it yourselves. Marcus, don't do this. I'm not doing anything, I said. I'm just not fixing your problems anymore. She started crying. Soft, hiccuping sobs that might have broken me a month ago. Now, they just sounded like noise. We made a mistake, she said. We know we hurt you, but you're still our son. Please. Am I? I asked. Because a few weeks ago, you sent me a message saying I wasn't part of the family property, that I should stay away, that Vanessa owned everything. So which is it? Am I your son, or am I a stranger? She didn't answer. You can't have it both ways, I said. You can't erase me when it's convenient and bring me back when you need something. That's not how this works. I hung up. 3 days later, my father left another voicemail. This time, his voice was flat, defeated. Marcus, the homeowner's insurance lapsed. We didn't realize until we got a letter from the mortgage company. They're going to force place insurance at triple the cost if we don't get coverage by the end of the month. We're trying to find a new policy, but nobody will insure us without an inspection, and the inspection costs $800. I know you're angry. I know we messed up, but please don't let this destroy us. I saved the voicemail, but didn't respond. A week later, Vanessa called. Her voice was different. Smaller. None of the smugness from the original group message. Marcus, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said those things. Mom and Dad are panicking. The house is falling apart. The security system is off, and someone tried to break into the garage last night. The police won't respond as fast without monitoring. We can't afford to fix all of this. Please, I'll do whatever you want. I'll apologize. I'll pay you back. Just help us. You said I'd lose if I fought the deed transfer, I said. You were wrong. I didn't fight it. I just stopped paying for it. Marcus, please. Good luck, Vanessa, I said. I hope the house treats you well. I hung up and blocked her number. 6 weeks after I sent that single-word reply, I received a letter in the mail. It was from my mother, handwritten on stationery I recognized from her desk. The envelope was thick, the kind that holds multiple pages. I almost threw it away without opening it, but something stopped me. Curiosity, maybe, or the need for closure. I sat down at my kitchen table and read it. She wrote about regret, about how they had taken me for granted, about how they hadn't realized how much I had been doing behind the scenes. She wrote about the roof damage spreading into the second floor, about the force-placed insurance costing them $600 a month, about Vanessa crying in her room because the house felt unsafe without the security system. She wrote about my father losing sleep, about her own goo. ILT, about how they had been blind to my contributions for so long. At the end of the letter, she wrote, "We were wrong. We treated you like you were expendable, and you proved to us that you were essential. I don't expect you to forgive us. I don't expect you to come back, but I needed you to know that we see you now. We see what you did, and we're sorry." I folded the letter, put it back in the envelope, and set it on the counter. Then I walked to the window and looked out at the city. The rain had stopped. The sky was clearing. Somewhere out there, people were living their lives, unaware of the small, quiet battles happening in living rooms and over phone lines. I thought about calling her, about offering some kind of olive branch, about being the dependable one again. But I didn't, because I'd spent my whole life being dependable, and it had cost me everything. Now, for the first time, I was choosing myself, and that choice felt like freedom. I didn't need their apology. I didn't need them to see me. I needed to see myself. And I did, clearly, for the first time in years. I picked up my phone and opened a text to an old friend I hadn't spoken to in months. "Hey, want to grab dinner this weekend?" The reply came within minutes. "Absolutely. It's been too long." I smiled and set the phone down. Then I walked to my desk, opened my laptop, and deleted the spreadsheet with all the receipts. I didn't need to carry that weight anymore. The house could collapse. The insurance could lapse. The roof could cave in. It wasn't my problem. It never should have been. I was done being invisible. Done being the backup plan. Done being the son who gave everything and got nothing in return. I was just Marcus now, and that was finally enough.